Hello. Now, I'd like to clarify something. Mark Harper is at fault for making something which is not binary into a binary situation. Mark Harper says that it's cynical to have a rail strike, on the same day as Eurovision. I agree. He then goes on to say that the rail unions have not accepted the perfectly reasonable offer that's been made. That's not it's not a binary choice between one or the other. I entirely think, I agree with Harper, that it is cynical to have a strike on the day of Eurovision. And I think there's plenty of other days that could be chosen. And Eurovision is a time when we as a nation have elected to support Ukraine in a particular way. And I think it would be good for the unions to join that support. Number one, it's not a freebie of rich people having a jolly, and that can be targeted. It's a very specific act of support for another nation that is struggling at this moment, and another nation, as Harper points out, where the train services and the people driving the trains and the people working on the trains have themselves been targeted. And I think it would be good for the unions in Britain to recognise their alliance with their colleagues in Ukraine. Number one. But the fact that I say that does not mean in any way that I think we should accept, or anybody should accept, Harper's dilatory and completely patronising idea that a union should kowtow to the absurd offers that have been presented, in the same way as the nurses should not be forced to accept these derisory offers, particularly when we see the amount of money wasted by this government. And so much money wasted. I mean, even the talk of traces of cocaine being found in the Foreign Office's bathrooms in Chevening after Liz Truss had left there. These stories, about cocaine, as Robin Williams pointed out, is simply a statement of people with too much money. It's a statement about people with too much money. And it's an appalling record when cocaine is found not only in the Grace and Favour house of the Foreign Secretary, but also around number 10 and in Parliament itself. I am simply staggered that these stories are coming out. And it's these same people, or from that same group, there are politicians wagging the finger at workers who previously they had clapped, essential workers who are being held to very poor pay deals. So it's not a binary choice. And I slightly resent people who are telling me that I don't care about the workers and the fact they can't make ends meet. That is not the conclusion that should be drawn from my videos. The fact that I say that somebody makes a valid point doesn't mean that I endorse everything else they say. In the same way as I would point out that I quite like Jacob Rees-Mogg, or at least I used to quite like Jacob Rees-Mogg. It doesn't mean I endorse what he says. There is a choice to be made between this person seems quite watchable on television, for example, as Jacob Rees-Mogg is extraordinarily watchable on television. What he says is often repulsive. His manner is so is odious. But it's very watchable, it's very engaging in a way that is different to Nadine Dorries. Nadine Dorries is watchable because she is crash TV. She is appalling television. She can barely read the auto cue. But she is bewitching in another way, in the way that you watch a disaster unfolding and you can't take your eyes off it. I've noticed that in Nadine Dorries' programs, her pieces to camera are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But in the case of Rees-Mogg, his pieces to camera are getting longer and longer because he is so good at it. But the fact that somebody's being praised for something doesn't mean we're praising everything about them. It means we're looking at what is good and trying to find what is good. If we can't find what is good, nobody is so absolutely awful. I'm sure even Putin has redeeming features. He certainly has a firmer hand grip than Mr. Medvedev, and I'm sure Medvedev has redeeming features. He seemed like a nice boy. But if we can't find those redeeming features, then we can't negotiate. Then we can't meet as equals, and then we can't, we can find nothing in common. All we can do is sit there and gloat in hatred for one another. That is not the way forward. So there are some comments on here which miss the point. They miss the point. And Bay is screaming for attention. I know what my job is.